book lovers, welcome back to Procrastinate with Books. So, I am planning to go to the book fair today, which is being hosted in Bangkok. It's the International Book Fair in here, and it starts from 28th of March up until the next weekend. So I majorly have two options. Either I can go this week, and I've already not visited it for the last 2 days, and I'm kind of having a FOMO. And today is a bright sunny day, so I'm thinking I should be going out there and check out the new stuff. And I want to bring you guys along with me there. The other option for us would be to wait until the next weekend, but I'm really scared that a lot of the books would be, gone by then, especially the books with good deals, and I wouldn't get to pick up the best ones. So I really want to go on the earliest possible day. So let's keep our fingers crossed and let's go in.
Our hearts beat to the city streets. We began to feel the fire. We rise like tall buildings as the chemicals, they take us higher. The night's young, it has just begun as she puts her hand in mine. We wanna chase the night, wanna dance to the light, pull the stars from the sky, just two hearts running wild. Never sleep, never stop, as we shout from the top. We're gonna be two hearts running wild.
Well, hello there and welcome back. And if you're wondering what I got, I simply got a bag full of books. Yes, I got tons of books. Ton is the appropriate word in this case, and without any further ado, I'm going to quickly just keep on showing you all that I got. So I'll start with my first purchase, which was this book in here. Almost dropped it. Fragments from the Past actually talks about an author's childhood and his past memories when he was in Burma and how he actually lived those days dealing with hardships, warm relationships, and everything else related to it. And it also has a clear messaging of telling you that wherever you go in life, or whatever stage you are reaching, never just forget your roots and where you're coming from. That will just help you embrace difficult situations in life and also grow you up in a better person. So I think it was pretty interesting to pick, and that's why I picked this one up. The next stall, I went to Konakon Publishing and got all these picks from there. They obviously had the deal of discounts. If you pick 5 or more books, you get a better discount, and that's where I decided to go in. The first book that I want to share with you is this one. This is a hardcover edition and a pretty good condition book. The story was related to a murder mystery from Athens, and anything related to Greece, Romans, and Athens for that matter is a definitely yes pick for me. So I thought I'll pick this up and try the story. For the next pick, we have At the Edge of the Solid World. Now, this one is a story of a young couple who actually loses their firstborn child, and they are dealing with a lot of grief. On the other side of the world, a person from their native land in Australia somewhere commits a heinous crime, and then they are simply fixated, especially the husband in the couple is actually very fixated with his story of what he did, and somehow into getting around the details of what he did, why he did, and all those things. He is being driven by trauma and insomnia. And the overall book promises a lot of talking around the emotional intelligence related areas. So I think that felt a little interesting to me, and I'll give this a try and let you know how it turns out. Up next, we have Dreamland, which was my next pick, and this one is the story about a young girl named Chance. So, Chance and her family are basically given a chance to get the grant, which is a money offer, and relocate to the onshore seaside of London's shores, whereas many people who can afford it are actually trying to move inland because of the rising sea levels. But since they were in need of money, they decided to move out there. And now, once they have started to rebuild their home and lives around the seashore, a lot of difficulties, intrusions, and other angles are emerging in, and how that family copes up with these situations amongst the underlying political intrusions, love stories, and all those things is what is going through the storyline. And I think the cover somehow spoke to me a lot, so I thought I'll give you a try as well. Next pick was a book that I found by Alice Hoffman, and this one is The World That We Knew. Now, Alice Hoffman is a world renowned author when it comes to fantasy and magical related story writings, and I have read her books previously, and I thought I will never let this go since I'm getting this one discount. So I decided to pick this one up. What captivated me the most was the blurb that listed out at the top, and I thought I'll read this out to you. So, once upon a time, something happened that you could have never imagined. A spell was broken, a girl was saved, a rose grew out of a tooth buried deep in the ground. Love was everywhere, and people who had been taken away continued to walk with you in dreams and in the waking world. Tell me that is not tempting for you to pick this book up. I mean, magic, fantasy, dead people walking around, what's not to love? So I decided to give this a try as well. Then next was Whisper Time by Margaret Rogerson, and she's the author of Sorcery of Thorns, and many of you might already be aware of that title. It's a great fantasy book. So when I got a chance to explore other books by the same author, I took it upon me to try. What's also intriguing is the dedication of this book. To everyone who would rather sit in a corner petting the dog than making conversations at a party, this one's for you. Which I found is a great way to get someone into reading this book. Thus, this appeared to be a standalone fantasy novel, and that's why I was okay, let's just pick this up and dive right blind into it. I did not read the blurb into a lot of detail, and I just wanted to give this a go. So, we are going to do this. Final book that I got from the store was The Living Sea of Waking Dreams, this one. And before I even get into the story, oh, plus the author is a Broker Prize winner, I wanted to show you something very beautiful. So this is the actual hardcover, and the print that you see in here, it's engraved, so these lines can be actually felt, and I think this is a really pretty beautiful edition. I don't, however, enjoy people on the cover, so I'm a little off about the picture, but other than that, great book. And what actually captivated me into picking this one up was the blurb that was listed out here, and I think it will be really difficult to put that into words before even trying to read it, so I'm just going to read it out to you. In a world of perennial fire and growing extinctions, Anna's aged mother is dying. If her three children would just allow it. Condemned by the pity and living, she increasingly escapes through her hospital window into the visions of horror and delight. When Anna's finger vanishes and a few months later her knee disappears, Anna too feels the pull for the window. She begins to see that all around her other things are similarly vanishing. No one else notices that. All Anna can do is keep her mother alive, but the window keeps getting wider, taking Anna and the reader ever deeper into a strangely beautiful story about hope, love, and orange belly parrots. Parrots. Right. Plus, this is the first edition of this book as well. And apart from that, I think the book was very weird and weird enough for me to get attracted and pick this up for reading. So that was about it from this publisher. After that, we ventured into another store where I got a few more books. These are pretty small, most of them are short stories, but I think they were very interesting, so I'll just quickly take you through them one by one. But before I actually start off with the 5 books that I picked or selected at the last level, let me just tell you they had such amazing collections. At least 50% of them were short compilations of the classic stories, and the other 50% of the books that they had in this Oxford store was entirely new for me. Like, I wouldn't have heard about them at all. So I found the collection very diverse for the very least. The first one that I got in was chocolate, and this book basically talks about everything chocolate, from where it is found in the world, how it's being processed, what are the areas where it's currently grown, and everything related to it in a very short, illustrated, beautiful edition. By beautiful, I mean like this. This is the way it actually illustrates. So you get those illustrations in a very concise way as well. So I think this is something that I thought would be a good for one time read, and even for other people to quickly swerve through and get some details out of it. So I decided to pick this up. Next book that I picked was The Whispering Night. Now this one is slightly illustrated at that. The story in here is about three children who find a witch's cottage in the wood, and they start to cook and brew the witch's potion in there. And they don't believe in witches at all, nor does anyone at this modern age, and they think nothing else will happen. But the next day when they wake up, they find that there's an old lady standing in the door, and she's warning them that the witch has put their attention on them, and now she's completely focused on their activities and bad things are about to happen. Pretty good story, pretty short one at that. I think it will be a good pick, at least for a short time. Next up was Death in the Freezer, a thriller mystery sort of a short story in there. Now, though this is a graded story, I'm not 100% sold on the contents of the book and whether I'm comfortable with children reading such kind of contents, because the story focuses around two young siblings. One of the elder one is actually a girl, the younger one is a boy, and she never got the same attention as her little brother, maybe because he was younger, but also because he was a boy, and there's a lot of difference in treatment and the way of upbringing amongst these two children, and there's a stark contrast. And that is why, while growing up and even as an adult, she literally hates him to the very being. And on the other hand, he is simply thriving at life. He has become this very famous rock star, and he is doing everything and basically landing in the best positions, and she's simply jealous and hateful and vengeful towards him, and she's some planning now something very malicious. I'm not really sure if I want kids to read this and put thoughts, malicious thoughts in their brains. So from that way, I'm not sure if kids should be reading this, but as an adult, it seems like a good story. Up next, I picked The Bird of Happiness and Other Wise Tales. This is also a beautifully illustrated book, if you can see, and it has multiple short stories in there, which I feel like sometimes, especially when you are suffering through a reading slump, you really need short stories in your life, and you just can't go out there looking at books when you don't really feel like reading them. So for those days, I've decided to keep this one as a backup plan for me in case I fell into another slump. I know I'll have this as an option to read. The final book in here today is Clunk's Brain. This is a children's book, also an illustrated version, and I actually thought I'll give this a read and then give it to my niece for reading, because it looks like an interesting book. He's very much interested into reading about robots and playing with them, and Clunk is a robot in here who has went away to the junkyard, and now his brain is also turned off, and the family is trying to look after him and find where did he go and why did he end up in the junkyard right from their home. So they are trying to connect the dots and find their dear robot. And that, my friends, were all the short story books and the long ones that I got from the book fair this time. I hope you guys had a lovely time watching my book haul, and let me know in the comments down below what was the last book mail that you received down, and I'll catch up with you in my next video. Until then, keep your coffee strong and your PBRs long. Goodbye.